There's no distance too far for the perfect trip.
Hi, checking in for...
Or the perfect table.
Hey, where are you?
Coming!
And when you get access to Resi Priority Notify with your Amex Platinum card...
Hey, this looks amazing.
I'm so glad you made it.
And travel benefits at fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel, it's worth the trip. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
This is it. We've got an Amex Platinum Pro on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't seen anyone relax like this before in the Centurion Lounge. Is he connecting to complimentary Wi-Fi? Oh, my. Look at that. He is. And you will not believe where he's going next. The Amex dedicated card member entrance for the win. Unbelievable.
When you get travel perks with Amex Platinum, you're part of the action. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
Good morning, Tom. How are you today?
Excellent, brother. Pretty excited for this next guest that we have coming on the show.
Well, I am too, but I do want to talk about right now. I think the Ranger fans owe the Rangers an apology because Florida is just smothering McDavid and the Oilers right now. There are two.
Well, they did in the second game. First game, though, Edmonton outshot them by a lot. I mean, it was
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Barkov got hit there, and now they're questioning whether he's going to be able to play at this time. We're recording our show. So.
No suspension, or sussy, as the young kids say. No sussy for a dry cycle.
Sussy?
Yeah, sussy. No sussy for Sally, sussy. No sussy for dry cycle.
Not be more than a 2-minute penalty. I mean, it's got to be. Went after his head.
Yeah, he went after his head. He left his feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's because he's a star player. I mean, I don't know why that is. Yeah. But Florida, okay, maybe not smothering, but Edmonton's got 1 goal through 2 games.
Yeah.
We've wanted Edmonton offense, so.
Well, they're doing a good job against McDavid and Draisaitl. That's obviously why they're getting frustrated, too. Who knocked McDavid down, cut his chin? Was it Bennett? I think he hit him.
Bennett's just a wrecking ball. And it goes back to, we did our wrap-up show on the Rangers, and I think they're like a player away. One Sam Bennett type player, one bastard player. Who
the Rangers are?
Yeah.
And you know what? It's one player, but it's also like that. It's a team attitude. Like they all play that way. Even if they're not like tough guys, they play like a hard game. Who was the defenseman that grabbed the Edmonton defenseman?
No, it was Ekblad. Was it Ekblad? Yeah, Ekblad grabbed Bouchard tapped out. He's like, all right, choke him. I don't need to do this here.
I have never seen that before where a guy taps out like that, too. He didn't let him go. He just kept choking. That was funny. That was good.
But so far, it looks like Florida's going to steamroll. You never know, but it looks like they're going to steamroll to the cup. And I think Ranger fans will reassess and say, you know what? Maybe it wasn't such a bad season. Yeah. We won 2 games against what will be the Cup champs, who are a really tough, experienced team.
Well, again, it's all perspective, right? We've talked about this before. If you went up to Toronto and asked the fans of Toronto if they could have the 3 years the Rangers have had, President's Trophy and 2 trips to the semifinals, the Toronto fans would take that in a heartbeat.
Take it in a heartbeat. And Ranger fans are spoiled. They're like, we should have won the Cup every year, and this guy sucks, and that guy sucks. It's like, no, Barkov's good, the defense is great, the forwards check, and the goaltender played amazing. So it's like...
Well, the big thing left to be found out here in the series is, will that girl in Edmonton take her shirt off again?
Chicklets found her.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
A lot of people were in the comments were saying, the original video was better than the reality, but I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought it was.
She's trying to hide now too a little bit, right?
She's trying to hide. Yeah,
a great idea at the time. It's not. They're claiming that all these porn places are trying to get a hold of her to do. She says nobody's gotten a hold of her. So
yeah, they always claim that stuff. But back to the hot.
No, really quick.
Okay, let's talk about it. Fine, we'll talk about
what goes on in her head. She didn't look like she was just inebriated. I mean, sure, she had a couple of beers, but
she's probably feeling good. Had some fun. She's up with the crowd. She's like, let me just show my guns. Showed off the guns. And she did admit, though, she said they were enhanced. They were not natural. They're not au naturel.
I don't mind that. That's fine.
That's fine. Okay.
She's trying to better herself. People pick on, shows people are trying to work on themselves.
I'm a little surprised, though, because you tend to not be attracted to the Caucasian women anymore. So the fact that we're talking about this is that's a news story. We're talking about a news story, or?
Well, I think she obviously had a very good job. Whoever did those breasts
did a wonderful job.
Doctors. So I think it doesn't matter what color they are.
They were essentially perfect. So
yeah, and it's just the presentation, where it was, the moment, up in Canadians are very reserved too, like that. A Canadian girl taking her shirt off.
Not that one.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you, and it is a hockey story, and it's a newsworthy story, so we should talk about this. Because
okay, so this is going to be the thing. Will there be other women that try to show their breasts at the game?
Well, sure. Why not? Well, what about, remember, it was Dallas, right? They would put that, they would have I think she was a stripper. She would sit behind the visiting coach.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was very enhanced, and she would like try to, and then Florida has a little kid, different story, who now he was in the Ranger series too. That he takes his shirt off when he collects. You know, and he was right behind the Ranger coaches. Like
I saw that. That was some fun. It's just...
Hey, listen, it's all good. It's hockey. It's fun. Yeah. You know, it doesn't hurt anybody. It's all good.
Do you remember Paul McLean, the player that became a coach, had the big mustache?
It's a walrus mustache.
Yeah, when he coached Ottawa, they had a guy behind the bench that looked just, it was his twin.
I remember that. He looked just like him. This is just, yes. That was great. And why not? They should do more of that. You know, more of those. It's fun, personality. It's rock.
Okay, so who's going to do the game? Is it ESPN or whoever's doing the game? ESPN. I think now the producers are saying, okay, we have to have the camera on all the women. If Edmonton scores a goal, we have to have the camera on the women.
100%. Yeah. So you have the stringers in the audience who are just looking for something cool, you know. So yeah, absolutely. That was a viral one. Obviously, it was set on someone's phone, but they're absolutely looking for that stuff. 1,000,000%. That stuff.
But then they have to have the delete button or the pause button, don't they? Isn't like a 5-second delay?
I would think as soon as someone goes to do the motion of lifting the shirt, they would just cut away. Yeah, okay. And there's like a 7-second delay. Maybe it's 5 seconds, but they'll cover it. But you want some cool things to happen. That's why they keep showing that kid. Yeah, you know, and they should. That's fun.
It's got to be the topic of your Biz Nasty there. He has to be talking about that when he gets on the show.
They did. They talked about that. They had her. Yeah, they found her. They had her on the show.
That's right, on his show. When he gets on the show with Gretzky and all those guys.
I don't know.
You think he will?
I don't know. That's all TNT's producers if they let that go. But they'll probably bring it up. I'm sure they will. They'll say, "Hey, we're in Edmonton, and is the girl here?" You know. So I would. How
about PK? Mess isn't going to say anything. PK might say something.
He might. He probably will. Yeah. So it's been great. The coverage has been great. The ratings are up across the board, which is awesome. I think the one thing though that hurts is Florida's shutting down the best player in the world, and the American audience who doesn't get to see him that often is missing a chance of seeing him, you know, excel. But who knows? It's a long series. There's 5 games left potentially, so we'll see.
So we got our boy Boo Nieves coming up there. I want him to tell us where that name came from.
Boo Nieves. Yes, and it should be a good story. We'll find out. Maybe it's a Halloween thing. Who knows? Maybe his name was I don't know. Maybe his nickname Boo Boo. Who knows? We'll find out. It's gonna be good.
Halloween thing. That was good. At first, I used to say Halloween thing. What?
Well, it could have been from Halloween. Maybe he'd like to jump out and scare people when they were hiding. You know, who knows? But yeah, today we have on former Ranger, current Ranger alumni, and owner of Top Line Hockey, Boo Nieves, coming on the show.
There's a great joke I heard the other day. I have to go. I know you remind me of an owl. Oh no, somebody in this room reminds me of an owl.
Who? There you go. Tom Laidlaw, dad jokes. Be clever.
I was just dying when I heard it. It was a much better presentation than I just gave it, but it's good.
But yes, so enjoy this episode. Boo Nieves.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's go.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Here we go. Tom, we got a Ranger and a teammate of yours in alumni games only, though. When you're not scratched. But we have a younger alumni who has now gone on to start a really cool business. Today we have on Cristoval, Boo Nieves.
Mr. Personality, too. I really didn't know each other, and we played that game. You had a great personality there, brother. Good job. Thank you.
Show. So of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Where'd the boo come from?
This is disgusting. So when I was a little kid, I just had snot all over my face when I was skating around in the rinks. It was absolutely disgusting. And my parents would call me Booger Boo. And I think I just started to get older. And my real name is Cristoval. And I don't think a lot of the kids could pronounce that on the ice. So as I got older, they're like, well, we can't call him Booger Boo his whole life. So they dropped the Booger. And then Boo just kind of stuck. And then that's just kind of where I ended up.
That's cool. You said that before publicly? Do people know that story?
Yeah, honestly, as I've gotten out of professional hockey, I started telling it more and more. I don't think I told it once when everybody asked me when I was still playing. I don't want to get made fun of for it.
Isn't that true? I had a lot of stuff. Like I'm writing a book. There's a lot of secrets I told that I didn't want to tell before, like stupid things I've done. And
little things that guys would pick up on the locker room, or like other teams, someone would find something out. There's always one guy in another team that like finds something about you and just kind of like nails it into you during the game and just gets under your skin.
We've had this conversation with a few guys that have been on the show. And it's amazing how we cared so much about what other people thought when we were playing. Like now, when you get older, you're like, why did I worry about that before, right?
Honestly, it's so funny. I'm in here with a bunch of the college guys training, and like they're talking about things like this guy in the locker room did this, or like this guy, like one of the kids plays at Holy Cross, and then there's a kid who plays at Mercyhurst, and he's like, I hate that guy. We used to go at it. And then they met each other on Saturday morning at one of our skates, and now they're best friends. They're hanging out today.
Yeah. Sure.
So it's so true. I don't know why we cared so much, but I don't know. It is what it is.
So you're teaching. So what do we go talk about your business here first? What's the name of your company?
So it's called Top Line Hockey.
And you teach individuals, teams.
Yeah. So basically, we started in 2016, 17 in the summer. Myself, Justin Selman, and Connor Lean, and RJ Burns, we were all playing professional hockey. We'd all just graduated. Justin went to Michigan with me. Connor played at Maine, and RJ played at Geneseo and Army. We were all playing in the minors, and we kind of were like working out apprentice, hanging out in Jersey in the summer. We're like, why don't we do a camp for these kids? There's no one who's running camps around here. And we did one kind of for fun, make a little extra money in the summer. And the kids loved it. The parents loved it. And we were pretty good at it, honestly. So we did another one the next year and another one the next year. And then COVID hits in 2020. I was still playing. I had just finished up with Hartford. And Connor, Justin, and RJ had all retired at that point. So what they did is they actually ended up opening a Gleiss facility at the Anvil over in Glen Rock in New Jersey. So this was in 2020, and they had kids coming in, 3 kids lifting, 3 kids on the Gleiss, just kind of shuffling them in, shuffling them out. And RJ ended up quitting his job, moving up here to do it. Justin quit his job, started doing that full time. And then Connor was at UBS. And it was kind of in and out of the office, so he would come and help out as much. And then from there, I had retired. I did a year with Tampa and Syracuse, and knew it was time to call it quits with all the head injuries. Then I started here, I want to say 2022 in May. And then we opened a gym up in Newburgh at Icetime Sportsplex. And then I live in New York City in Manhattan. So I ended up coming over here to City Ice Pavilion, and they were gracious enough to allow us to build a gym here. We have a Gleiss facility here now too. We just opened up a third spot a couple months ago over in Wyckoff, which is Gleiss and a gym as well.
When you say Gleiss, what is that?
So Gleiss is synthetic ice. So the kids can skate on it, and there's kind of a bad stigma with Gleiss. A lot of parents say it doesn't ruin your skates, doesn't ruin your stride, this and that. I think before, when you had the skating treadmills only, I think that would ruin their kids' skates. The groins would get pulled, and that's where you get a lot of most bad stigmas from. Now the Gleiss is so well maintained and so well made. Like, I can skate on it. I can do edge work. I shoot pucks on there. My college guys are actually heading up right now to go shoot on the Gleiss. It's just a great alternative because, as we know, especially in the tri-state area, ice is expensive and it's hard to come by. And especially in New York City, everything's, tenfold. So it's a great alternative for the kids to use. And
even if it is a little harder, that'd be even better, right? Better for good conditioning and working on your stride.
That's how I know you're a hockey guy. That's exactly why. It's all the parents ask, my kid, his shot's not very hard on there. He has to push even harder for a stride. I go, exactly. Like, it ingrains in their mind. They need to keep their feet moving. If you take a stride of the Gleiss and you don't take another stride, you fall flat on your face. You got to keep moving. And same with this shot. It's heavy. The kids don't like it at first because the puck's not raised and it's frustrating. But the kids who get good on the Gleiss translates to the ice so well.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. After you're on the Gleiss trying to shoot and skate, and then you go on the real ice, it's like, wow, I can fly out here now. All right, yeah.
Oh my God, I sling the puck. Sometimes I think about making a comeback, but then I realize I'm better at this.
I think it would help Tom with his shot and his -6 at the alumni game.
Well, there's a couple different factors that played into that game. All right, we all had a rough one, but yeah, it would definitely help. It would absolutely help.
There's certain limitations, I think, right? Yeah. And so, Boo, you grew up upstate New York, right?
Yeah, I did. I grew up in a small town called Baldwinsville, New York, about 25 minutes outside of Syracuse, along with Alex Tuck, who's in Buffalo, and Joel Farabee, who's in Philadelphia.
Very cool. Now, were you a good player right away when you started?
Yeah, I was. I was talking to my dad about this. I saw him the other day, and we were joking because when you're learning how to skate and they give you like those little like walkers almost on the ice. I have a vivid memory of helping the coaches hand the walkers to all the other kids. And my parents were actually a little worried about me because I wasn't great. I was an okay athlete as a kid. Wasn't great at anything specific, but I was rollerblading really well. And then rollerblading around the house. I was scratching up our wooden floors. My mom's like, just get out of the house, go rollerblade. So then, but the only other issue was I didn't really say any words until I was like 3. My parents, like, 2.5 rolled around and they're like, oh, I don't know if he's going to say anything anytime soon. I was doing a lot of pointing and a lot of like noises. Right. But I could rollerblade. I could roll a bit almost better than I could walk, I guess. So they were kind of getting worried, but they're like, hey, he's going to lose in one area, but you know what? He's going to gain in another. So they laced me up and threw me at the local rink and kind of grew from there.
And what's your nationality?
So my dad's black and Puerto Rican, and my mother is white and Italian. So very interesting mix. Yeah, not a lot of hockey players with that type of background.
I think Boo is the first of Puerto Rican descent to play in the NHL too, right?
Yeah. No, I from what we know, and then actually the Puerto Rican Ice Hockey Association was here in Long Island this past weekend. They played against Jamaica, they played against Lebanon, and they're kind of working their way up in the IHF standings. So a lot of excitement. We're working on building a rink on the island, but we can get into that a little bit later.
Really? Interesting. Kind of off topic, you said you're working with a lot of college kids. Are these teams losing a lot of kids to the portal, the transfer portal?
Yeah, no, it's funny you said that. I was actually having a conversation with one of the kids about this. So one of the kids in here, he actually lives across the street from me in Manhattan. He just finished up his degree at Holy Cross. His name's Jack Robilotti, and he entered the portal to do a fifth year, and he's now going to do a fifth year at UMass Lowell. He's an awesome player. He's been working out, training with us for the last couple of years. But yeah, I don't really know what the deal with the portal is, because I feel like it's kind of turning into this almost like free agency market, right? So like if I go to, say, school like BU, big time school, and I'm not playing much, and I enter the portal, next year I could find myself at, a school like UNH, who's Hockey East, where I'm now playing against my old teammates, but now they don't have to sit a year, I guess, anymore.
Yeah.
So you can just hop from team to team to team. And I don't know. I think that it's fair for the kids who struggled with COVID, the last 3-4 years of kids, but I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like they should probably shut it down after the next year or so, because I don't think that kids are going to college for the right reasons anymore. I think that, you go to the OHL at 16, 17, 18 because you want to try to fast track to the NHL, and, you might be head and shoulders above everybody else. But with college, I mean, it's going there for, obviously you want to get to the NHL, but you're getting an education, or at least starting it, right? So I think that some kids are just seeing it as, BU won the national championship X amount of years ago, I'm going to go there, and if I don't make it, then I'll go to this school or this school. So that's just kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah, my old school in Northern Michigan, they lost 14 players so far to the portal from last year. So actually all the coaching staff quit as well, because they're saying this is ridiculous. You just can't put a team together this way. So
yeah, I feel like it's just, you don't really grow with your teammates anymore. Like my class at Michigan was Andrew Cobb, Jacob Truba, Justin Selman. 3 of us played in the NHL, and we all were there for, granted, Truba leaves after a year, Cobb leaves after 3 years, but at least you grow with your class. I just feel like now it's just not really a class. It's just, these are the guys I came in with, and I might see
that was one of the great experiences about, playing with your teammates. Like when I went to Northern, we started the program there. So the guys that were freshmen, we were together for 4 years, and it's great friendships, and the teamwork, that whole thing that you learn from being together all the time. Yeah. Although there is talk, though, the OHL is talking to the NCAA supposedly about letting OHL players, so they play junior and then they can go to college after. So right now, as you know, they can't. They lose their eligibility. But
yeah, no, that's another thing that I was gonna bring up. I think that would be great, because I think that unless, let's be realistic here, unless you're a top 10 pick in the draft, I don't really think the OHL makes a lot of sense for a lot of these kids. I feel like they get blinded by the McKinnons and the Crosbys and the McDavids of the world. But there's a lot of late bloomers, and you're starting to see a lot more 22, 23, 24-year-olds breaking into the NHL after their 4 years in college, after they put their time in the AHL and they finally get their breaks. And those guys end up, I feel like, staying in the NHL longer than the guys who try to go at 19, 20, sign their first deal, they play a year, and then they kind of fade away. Yeah. So I think that would be great, because I think that you've got, for every, player on, every OHL team that goes to the NHL and has a full-time career, there's, 16 other guys who are still trying to make it, right? So I think that giving those guys, the opportunity to also get an education at a great school, nothing against, Canadian colleges. I know they have a good deal. I think it's like if you play a year or two in the OHL, then they pay for a year or two of Canadian college. But I think it's a lot more enticing for, a kid, say, a kid plays in the OHL, ages out at 20, and then, Michigan says, hey, we're looking for a big D. You want to come play? Like, that's so cool for that kid to be able to, go to Michigan, start his degree there, and play for, an historic franchise, right?
Yeah. And especially if the portal stuff keeps going on, when teams are losing, these college teams are losing their players, now they've got more players to get from the OHL. Hey, real quick, Jacob Truba, I like him as a player a lot, but the Ranger fans have got on him a little bit, especially this past season. My concern with him is that he's almost too nice of a guy and tries too hard. Like he needs to stay within his game. Is that accurate of him?
Trubes, yeah, it's funny. Trubes is probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet off the ice, but you get him on the ice and you're like, I don't want to go near this guy. He might take my head off. But, that's just hockey, as you know. And I think it's hard. I think playing in New York is probably one of the hardest markets to play in, besides maybe Toronto and Montreal. But Rangers fans, as we know, they're pretty quick to jump on people's backs, especially the captains, because, it's an easy blame. They're an easy scapegoat. And I feel like the recent success they've had in the last couple of years, everybody's itching for that cup. And I think, the magnitude of having someone like Lafreniere, a first overall pick, now breaking out, Capo being a second overall pick. And I think that there's a lot of tension in the New York market right now. And I think a lot of it's fallen on Jacob. And I really don't think it's fair, because I think he's played well. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like, they don't need him. He scored a couple goals. He's not a goal scorer. You know what I mean? He's a hard-nosed defenseman. He's going to knock the crap out of somebody at center ice, and he's going to get everyone's attention. He'll fight someone if he has to. He's doing everything he needs to do. But I think it's just one of those cases of it's an easy scapegoat to blame the captain. And listen, I think that people forget, like, these guys are human, right? So what? He's going to take a penalty here or there. The guy's playing 25, 30 minutes a night. Like, it's inevitable. And he's not only playing, he's playing against the best players in the world in the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, there's no shifts off. Like, it's going to happen. So I don't think it's fair, the criticism and the scrutiny he's gotten. And I think he's handled it really well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, really has. The other thing too, I think people see him coming now because of the reputation he's built. So now he's trying to get that hit in. So now he's throwing out the elbow there and get himself in trouble.
Oh yeah, he did that a couple times at Michigan. He killed a couple kids, and he actually broke the glass with a slap shot, like one of our first games, and we all just kind of looked at each other like, holy.
Did he ever hit you in practice or no?
He did hit me in practice, and I'll tell you what, like, playing against him in practice was one of the best that ever happened, because, like, we're in the same class, we were buddies off the ice, but, like, when it got on the ice, there were no friends. And, like, I kind of learned that from him in a way, because he was coming from NTDP. He went like 8th overall to Winnipeg. And, like, I was kind of like messing around, like, oh, like, we're freshman classmates. And popped me, and I was like, all right, this is it, no friends. And honestly, I learned a lot from him, honestly, even that 1 year.
I want to make a point, though, because I think from what you said, the Ranger fans are kind of starting to walk back those disappointment now, because Florida's smothering Edmonton through 2 games. And they're like, okay, maybe the Rangers aren't that terrible. And maybe these players are good. They're just getting shut down by a really quality team. Yeah. So I think a lot of the Ranger fans are now off the ledge a little bit and starting to appreciate the season. And players like Trouba and Zibanejad and Kreider and Panarin.
Yeah, man. Like I said, like, they're human, and, like, they wake up and, they've got lives, they've got kids. Like, they don't wake up ready to play every single day. Like, they need to get in the mindset. Their bodies are hurting. They played. I mean, I was talking to the old strength coach, Reg Grant, when I was first in New York. And this was in 2016, after, like, they had a couple years of, cup runs. And he was telling me, he's like, some of these guys like Zook and McDonough, like, they had played almost 2 full seasons in one, before other teams had played, their first full season. Right. So if you think about that, the amount of games and I mean, unfortunately, I never even played in a playoff game. I mean, it's tough to get into. Yeah. But I can only imagine a season in the NHL is a killer on your body. I can't even fathom the amount of adrenaline and what you're running off of just to keep, equilibrium in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Especially if you're going a little bit of a run. My first year, we went to the semifinals, and I didn't realize until we finally got beat out, and then we sat back. I didn't realize the stress was going on. Right? It's just this whole weight off it's like you're constantly. It's great stress. It's fantastic, but it is stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah. So did you have 4 full years at Michigan then?
Yeah. So I did. I had 4 full years at Michigan. And to be honest, I was supposed to be there for a year or 2. That was kind of the plan. Being a 2nd-round draft pick and pretty highly scouted. So I kind of went in there. I didn't have the mindset of I'm one and done, but I went in. I had a really good freshman year. And then I was like, you know what? I really don't think I'm ready physically or, maturity wise. Cause my coach was Red Berenson, who is probably one of the best coaches I've ever had in my life. I love Red. He's awesome. And he kind of told me, he was like, listen, Boo, you can leave. He's like, he told you straight. He's like, listen, I don't think you're physically ready. And I don't think that socially you're ready. I don't think you're ready to sit in an NHL locker room.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of resonated with me. I didn't think about that because growing up in juniors in college, like, you get acclimated pretty quickly, but when you get to pro hockey, there's guys that are twice your age. There's guys that are a year younger than you, that are higher up on the depth chart than you. There's so many different dynamics, and I didn't think about that, and it kind of resonated with me. So came back for my sophomore year. Actually had a really bad year, honestly. I struggled. And then junior year came back really strong. And then I was actually really close to leaving. And I remember talking to my agent. I was texting him on my computer being like, we were talking about it. I'd probably go to the AHL for a year. So I figured I might as well go early. Instead of playing my senior year, play in Hartford, get the experience and go. And then Red pulled me into his office, another great Red story. And he was just like, he just kind of sat there and he nods his head at you for like a good minute. And it's just silent. I'm kind of like looking at, like, I don't know what's going on. He's just looking at me and I'm like,
intimidating, right?
Literally. And he just starts smirking. He goes, how are you, Boo? I'm like, I'm good, Red. How are you? He goes, I'm good. He's like, how's school? I'm like, it's great. He goes, you're a music major. You love music, right? I go, I do. I love it. It's been fun. The teachers have been really awesome. He's like, that's great. He goes, how's your girlfriend? I was like, yeah, she's great. And he goes, so why are you leaving? I said, I don't know, actually. I don't know. He's like, sounds like everything's going for you. He goes, I'd like to make you a captain. So we'd love to have you back. And then from then on, I was just like, this is a no-brainer. I got one more year left. Let's stay. Let's lead this team back into the tournament. And we did. We lost to North Dakota in the regional finals, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So we couldn't be that upset about it. But no, I wouldn't replace anything for those 4 years.
I forgot that Red was there. That's a great thing for you to have too as young players, right? Because he's been through the NHL. He's coached for so long. You've seen guys come and go. That's cool.
Tom, didn't you lose nationals to North Dakota as well?
Yes, we did. Final game. Yes, North Dakota.
Oh my God, they're a good team.
Gino Casperini, he doesn't coach here anymore. Is it Gino Casperini? He's done, right?
I think he's done. Yeah, I want to say he's done.
But was he there when you were there playing against him?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I can't remember who their coach was, to be honest with you.
But they've had a great program for decades now. Yeah,
I mean, their first line was like Brock Besser, Nick Schmaltz, and Drake Kajula. All guys still in the NHL.
Did you get recruited by a lot of other teams?
Yeah, I did. My first offer was, it's ridiculous. I think my first offer was literally when I was like 13 and a half by Colgate. Because growing up in Syracuse, they were like a 40-minute drive. So like I kind of grew up always playing at their rinks at showcases. Like that was like, I always loved going there. Jason Lefay, he was the goalie coach at the time, and he would come and work with our goalie. So he kept an eye on me. And they were kind of my first offer. And it's funny, my dad really wanted me to go to Colgate. He loved Cornell, all the schools that were within an hour of Syracuse, New York. But I don't know, growing up as a kid, I loved Michigan. I always had a Michigan shirt on. I loved the maize and blue. I loved the helmets. Don't get me wrong. I visited BC, BU, Vermont, UNH, all of those schools. I loved Vermont, loved UNH, loved BU. But I just remember Michigan had offered me, and I think it was my freshman year. And they called me and they were like, hey, like, what are you thinking? And I kind of just sat there and I'm like, holy crap, the University of Michigan's calling me, asking me if I'm going to come or not. Like, right. I'm a fool to not take this offer. So I committed there. And honestly, I loved Michigan before. I loved it when I was there, and I always loved it.
It's a great campus too. My oldest son went to Michigan State. So same thing. He loved the campus there, the football, the basketball, everything was going on. So it was the full experience. So yeah.
Oh, it's you can't, either of those schools. I mean, they're awesome.
Wait, can we go back a sec? Because I'm kind of blown away by something. Boo, you said you got a college offer at 13?
Yeah, it was
legal.
I mean, it's a verbal, so it means as much as it was us talking. You couldn't really sign, I think, the NIL until your junior year. But it was out of control. It was crazy. Like there were kids who got offered even before me. I remember there's a kid named Ian Spencer who got offered to another school like the summer before me. It was crazy. But to us it was normal. Right. But now, like with the kids we train, they're arguably better than us. But I think that the pool of kids is much larger. Right. It was, you saw it when I was younger. You saw it a lot more of let's get these kids committed verbally. And then a lot more kids would get decommitted because they would fall off the face of the earth. Obviously, from 13 to 18, that's a 5-year stretch. Like a lot happens. Now, these kids, they don't get talked to until sophomore and junior year, which is a lot more realistic because it's less time for them to either fall off the face of the earth or, develop into the players they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be surprised, Tom, how many kids get offers like at 14 years old or 15 years old. It really doesn't mean anything, right? You can walk away from it all you want. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't mean anything.
I just feel like a shitty parent since my 9-year-old has no offers on the table yet, So
get to work.
I got to get.
I'll get there. I got
it back with Top Line on Monday nights at Sportorama.
When it comes to hiring, don't go searching for the one. Just meet your match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/match. Just go to Indeed.com/match right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/match. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Worried about letting someone else pick out the perfect avocado for your perfect impress them on the third date guacamole? Well, good thing Instacart shoppers are as picky as you are. They find ripe avocados like it's their guac on the line. They are milk expiration date detectives. They bag eggs like the 12 precious pieces of cargo they are. So let Instacart shoppers overthink your groceries so that you can overthink what you'll wear on that third date. Download the Instacart app today to get free delivery on your first 3 orders, while supplies last. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Did you have a family advisor when you were in college?
Yeah, I did. His name was Alex Shaw, and he was awesome. I feel like you get to that age, right? And we played up in Toronto a lot, and there's a lot of guys in black leather jackets with no logos, and they're like kind of like looking at you, like kind of whispering. And I think my parents did a really good job, especially my dad, kind of protecting me, because I think that it's easy to get blinded by, hey, the London Knights are looking to draft you. Would you, accept a scholarship money of $250,000 to go play for them instead of going to the University of Michigan? And, as a little kid, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, of course. And my dad's like, absolutely not. Like, I don't care how good or bad these guys think my kid is. My kid's going to college. Wow. I never really talked to a lot of them, honestly. My dad kind of was like my bodyguard. He would like screen them. And then if he felt like they were, someone that would work with me, then we would meet with them. And I remember Alec drove like 5 hours. He was down in like Philly or somewhere, and he drove up like on a Sunday evening just to come have a hot dog with me. And I was like, I can appreciate this. Like, this guy's awesome. He only took college guys. He had James Van Riemsdyk, Max Pacioretty, all these guys who were just starting to break into the NHL. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. So Alex Shaw he was my advisor growing up, and he was awesome.
So was he an agent as well, or just a family advisor?
He became my agent once I signed my first contract. Yeah.
You didn't go with Steve Bartlett? You didn't go with
so I did switch to him my last year, actually. Yeah, so I do know Steve. I know the Bartletts. They're awesome. They have most of the upstate guys. So yeah, no, I do know those guys.
When I was in the agent business, we really didn't all get along, but Steve and I got along really well. I really respected him. He's got his 2 sons working in the business now too, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. Brian and Blaken on the other name. But yeah, no, both those guys. Yeah, I worked with all those guys. They were great.
Is he in Rochester? Is that where he's from?
Yep, they're all based out of Rochester, so they get all the Syracuse, Buffalo, Albany. They kind of take up pretty much most of the upstate guys.
So people who don't know, agents have got a bad reputation, and it's in some cases it's well-deserved, but Steve Bartlett is one of those rare guys. He's a classy gentleman, family guy, told you the truth, never got caught in these lies and games and everything, so I really respected him a lot, so that's good.
Yeah, no, they give it to you straight.
Like you, Tom.
Well, I honestly, God, it's funny because when I got into it, I said, no, this is the way I'm going to run my business. I don't care what everybody else is doing. And sometimes I lost. I had 1 year where I would have had I had Brian Berard was the first overall pick in the draft, and Wade Redden was number 2, and I was going to have both those guys. But Wade Redden's GM and junior was friends with another agent, so he said, no, you can't go with Laidlaw. And then the next year I would add Chris Phillips, I think went first overall, but another agent bought him a car. So I'd lose out in some of those cases because I wasn't doing that stuff. But I thought, no, I'm not going to. And it helped me later on because I really built a better reputation. So it worked out in the end. So you had the full 4 years. Then so you got beat out by North Dakota. Did you sign with the Rangers right away and go play in the minors?
Yeah, I did. I signed with them, I think, like 2 weeks after. And I went straight to Hartford. I think I played, it's like a handful of games. It was like 12, 15 games, I want to say. And it was awesome. I think that's one thing that you really need to take advantage of is the first time you sign, you need to hit the ground running. I think a lot of guys kind of get there and they kind of tiptoe in and they're like, I don't want to take the puck away from this guy because I grew up watching him, or I don't want to, upset any of the veterans. But like, I kind of went in there I was great. I respected everybody, but like when I got on the ice, I'm like, this is my opportunity. I played really well. I had a couple goals. I think it was like a point a game, like in the first couple games in the AHL. So yeah, I signed right away and went to Hartford, and it was really nice to dip my toes too, because that could have been a really long summer, right? Going into pro hockey, you don't know what you're getting into, and until you get there, you cannot prepare yourself for the ridiculous highs and lows that pro hockey brings you.
Yeah, isn't that true? I did exactly the same thing when I got done. Went and signed, played. New Haven was the farm team at that time. So what there, and I admire you for saying, okay, I'm going to hit the ground running. That's hard to do sometimes because again, you're watching all these guys on TV, and you're a little bit naturally being a little bit intimidated. So I got over that pretty quick, but it was a big thing for me too because then I knew going back during the summer, okay, here's what I need to do to make the team the next year. So let's go, baby. Good job.
Yeah, I know it's.
So then what happened next year? The year after that, did you come in and make the team out of training camp?
No, I didn't. So I went to Traverse City and I was playing lights out. Like I was awesome. They made me the captain and it was nice because I'd gone to development camp a lot. So I knew all of the guys. Like I was really comfortable with the organization. They did a really good job welcoming me. So by that point I was on cloud nine. I was playing really well. And honestly, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I think I could make this team out of camp. And then the last game at Traverse, I took a hit and I had a concussion. It was a slight one. So obviously then I sat out for most of training camp, which was really frustrating for me because I was coming out of school. Like I was flying high. I was so ready. And had a concussion and then they kept me around, which was great. And they were like, listen, playing this last exhibition game, which was pretty much the team that was already picked. But it was hard. I hadn't skated. I'd never gone through a training camp. So these guys were coming out of it. I just got thrown into an exhibition game. I didn't play great, to be honest with you, but I mean, that's on me. I didn't take advantage of it. So got sent down and had a really good start to the season in Hartford, was excited still. And I ended up getting my first call up. Kreider got hurt and I played in Vancouver. I played my first game, which, as you know, is just the coolest feeling in the world. Like skating out there and putting your stick down for a face off and you look around and you're like, holy crap, I know, right? The NHL it's the coolest feeling. And so that was awesome. And then they told my agent, like, listen, he's looking great. We're going to look to make some moves and try to get him up here after Christmas. So I was like, boom, this is it. This is awesome. I'm so excited. And then fortunately took a really bad hit at right around Christmas time, right before All-Star break, and then concussed, and I ended up sitting out the rest of my first year.
Had you had concussions in college?
I had one, but very minor, not much of a setback. But from Traverse City on, unfortunately, that was my MO. It was like every 6 months to a year, I was getting head injuries and kind of became cyclical, unfortunately.
Are you fine now? No symptoms now?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling great now. I think the last one I took was in training camp in Tampa. And I kind of took a hit and I just knew, I'm like, listen, like I remember waking up in the hotel kind of foggy, and as most hockey players do after a concussion. And I kind of looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, man, like how many more of these do you need to learn your lesson? And I think kind of like a light bulb went off in my head and I realized by the time you learn your lesson, it's usually too late. Once you get so symptomatic, like it's scary because we don't know the long-term effects. We're starting to see them, with all of the CTE stuff, and it's scary and it's sickening, honestly. And so I kind of compare it to being in a casino, right? It's kind of a funny comparison, but I say like, listen, like you win and then you start losing a couple of hands and, are you able to walk out with, what you've got, or are you going to stay in there and keep battling for, God knows what? So I took my chips and I walked out, and honestly, I couldn't be happier about it.
And how many concussions do you think you had in total?
In my pro career, I would probably say one my first year, one in Traverse. I had one in my second year, and then I had a fourth one in Tampa. So I'd say 4 in my professional career alone. So yeah, that was kind of it for me.
And how were the doctors and the Ranger staff? They were pretty supportive of you, making sure you were taken care of?
Yeah, Rammer, who was there when I was playing. He was awesome. Honestly, like they couldn't have been better. And I was really fortunate because even Brian Fairbrother in Hartford, awesome. Like you hear these horror stories of guys saying, I don't feel great, and then the GMs and the trainers will be like, well, okay, well, someone's going to take your spot or you're going to get sent down, kind of thing. And these guys, they get guns pointed to their head, and it's so unfair. And honestly, I was really lucky to have guys like Brian and Rammer on my side, like never pressured me, always checking in on me, always sending texts, always getting me in to get me moving. Like they honestly, like I think that they were a huge part of my recovery and the reason why I was able to keep a level head. Cause you know how these guys get in dark places, and they go down slippery slopes. And I think that they did an awesome job of keeping my head above water.
And who was coaching at that time? The Rangers?
So my first coach was AV. So that was an interesting experience. AV was good. And then my second coach was Quinny.
So AV was interesting. Why?
He was just like a veteran coach. And I remember watching him when he was in Vancouver and like all those Stanley Cup games. And it was just weird for me because like I'm just a small town kid and I make it to the NHL. And now this guy I used to watch on TV is yelling at me, yelling my name and telling me to go and telling me what to do. And I'm just kind of like, I respect you so much, but like you're yelling at me. So can you stop? But no, it was cool. It was interesting because he kind of had this more of like an old school mentality. Really leaned on his older veteran guys. At that time, my first game I played, we had like Kevin Klein, Strawman, Stepan, McDonough, not calling these guys old by any means, but like they were all veteran guys in the NHL, Mark Stahl, all those guys. So
yeah, very cool.
How about your first goal? You remember it?
I do remember my first goal. Yeah, it was in Pittsburgh, and we were actually. I remember I was getting frustrated because I had started that season really well, and I think I had like 3 assists in my first game, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna score, no problem.
Easy.
Yeah, right. Literally, I remember JT looked in the locker room after my second game, and I had 3 points. He goes, "Easy league." He's like, "You'll be signed to take it in no time," and I was just like, "All right, I hope so." Yeah. But no, I remember I think it was like my 28th game. And I kind of like got out of my mind. I'm like, okay, you're going to score when you're going to score. Don't worry about it. And I remember Zook, we were at Pittsburgh. It was things in the first period. Zook came around the net and kind of caught Pittsburgh out of change. And I was fresh off the bench. Zook slid one out to me. I was at the top of the circles. And I just remember everyone was like, dude, shoot the puck. Just shoot it. Yeah. And I just fired it. And it was like an ice burner. I think it might have gone off someone's stick and it went through Jari's 5-hole. And it went in. And once I realized it, I kind of put my hands up and I turned. And I remember I saw Shattenkirk right away. And he was like, high-fiving me, and it kind of all hit me. I was like, holy crap, I just scored my first goal in the NHL. And Tom, as you know, like you just feel the weight of the world just lifted off of you. And I'm like, here
we go.
The bad thing for me, my first game was up in Boston, and they had that tough team, Terry O'Reilly and all those guys and everything. And same as you, I was just like, I couldn't believe I'm in Boston Garden. I'm playing against the Boston Bruins. So I got so nervous. John Davidson was our goaltender at the time. And I went to shoot the puck. I was a left defenseman, and I was going to shoot around behind our net to get it to the other side to get rid of it. Well, I banked it right off JD's leg into my own net. So that was my first goal in National. So my experience was a little bit different.
Welcome to the show, Laidlaw.
Oh, God. When you make a mistake like that, too, especially your first game in the league, I know you ever made a mistake. You come back to the bench, and you're thinking, the world's over with. I'm getting sent down, and it's over.
Oh my God. Every turnover I had, every penalty I took, like I don't want to look at the coach, but I kind of want to see if he's like looking at me or if he's barking at the ref, if he's on my side. Yeah. But no, it is such a cool feeling. You feel like every squat, every bench press, every sprint, every bag skate you've ever done in your life, you feel like it's added up and it's paid off in that moment.
Yeah. Isn't it true? Like that first year, especially, you go around all the different buildings in the league. It's all the new experience. Every place you're going, it's that same feeling all over again. I guess it gets watered down a little bit, but it's still amazing feeling.
Oh, it is. It's so funny. Like my friends would text me and they'd be like, "Do you want to get lunch today?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm in Montreal." And they're like, "Oh, that's right. You have a game. That's so cool." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." And then they're like, "All right, well, do you want to do something next week?" I'm like, "Oh, we're doing our Florida trip." They're like, "You're like living the life." Like, I'm just like, "Well, what do you mean? We just have an away game and we're playing Florida." Like, it is what it is.
That's very true. So how many years did you get in the league?
I was there in New York. I was there for about 3 years, but I was hurt so much that over those 3 years, I only ended up playing, I think 81 games, I think. And then in Hartford, I think I only played like 130 over like a total of a 6-year pro career. Nice. So, I was there for 6 years total. And I barely played over 200 games total, just injuries.
I remember that now. But you're a really impressive player. Like your skating was unbelievable. I thought that really made you stand out amongst everybody else.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I felt like I was kind of like a hybrid between like this heavier, slower style and kind of turning into like this faster finesse game. And I felt like I was kind of fitting that. Skill level wasn't really with a lot of the younger kids, but my skating was awesome. And I felt like I feel like that propelled me. And you definitely frustrating. But
you didn't think your skill level was where it should have been?
I don't think so. I think that playing at Michigan was great because even my first year, I was first line center, second round draft pick. Second year, JT Comfort comes in. He's higher than me, so I get bumped to second line. Third year, Dylan Larkin comes in. Now we both get bumped down. So I'm playing third line my junior year. But the cool thing about a place like that is I could still play with skill. Like I could still, throw a backhand saucer pass in the middle of the ice and make a play. But the tricky part is, about when you get to pro, you need to be the player they need you to be, right? Like I'm not throwing, backhand saucer passes into the middle of the ice as a fourth line center. So I think that kind of hindered me and I kind of ended up playing a little bit scared, right? It was more of like, hey, you're so fast, just dump the puck and go get it. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to listen. I'm going to do that. I'm coachable. But at the same time, I'm like, I can blow by these guys. And I think that was like an internal battle with me. It's like, do I slip it through his triangle and beat him wide, or do I just chip it and go get it and maybe just throw it around to the D-man? So that's where I really struggled finding my niche. I think in the NHL was I had skill. I don't think I was skilled enough to be a top 6 guy right away, but I think that I was a little more skilled than what the position they had me play.
Yeah, it is funny. I had the same thing. Herb Burks came in my second year in the league. I had a decent first year. I had like 6 goals, 23 assists. I was supposed to be a defensive defenseman. So I thought, man, I'm going to be a good two-way defenseman. But Herb came in and said, nope. In fact, he said to me, he says, Laidlaw, if you get the puck, give it to somebody else. You're not supposed to. and he said this right in front of the whole team. So that's I same as you. I just said, okay, that's going to be my role. And looking back, I don't know how you feel, but I think I would have changed it. It's hard to change because that coach is wanting you to play a certain role. And in my case, it was, okay, if I played the role, that he was going to play me all the time in that role. So it worked out good. But then I thought, after I was done, maybe I could have been more of a player. But
I'm on the ice literally 3-4 hours a day with these kids, and the parents are like, oh man, like your shot is great. Like, oh, those slip throughs, your hands are so quick. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, they seem quick now, but like back then, like, I think I have more skill now almost teaching these kids all of this stuff. And I wish I had this stuff. Like I wish I was a lot more finesse, and I wish I worked on my skill work and not like, the toe drags and the Michigans of the world. I truly think like I literally have kids start practices like catching hard passes on their backhand, skating full speed. That's an elite skill that people don't understand. Like Panarin flying up the wing on his off wing, catching a hard snap pass on his backhand, like that's an elite skill. And, I hear the word elite from all these parents. My kid plays in the break. He plays in Quebec, blah, blah, blah. And I give him 10 passes on his back and he misses 7 of them. So I think little things like that, I wish I did.
Do you think these kids that you're coaching, you can really change their game, like really improve their skill level?
Yeah, 100%. I do, especially because we get most of these kids, like our sweet spot of ages, I would say is 9, 10, 11. So like right now we're working with a lot of like 2014s, 13s, 12s. And I think that they're still at a raw enough age where they're starting to get into the gym, so they're starting to get strength, but they're still malleable enough to kind of learn to get their hands off of their body before they start building. So I think once you get man strength around 16, 17, 8 years old, it's a lot harder to change their skill level. It's hard to get your hands away from your body and be a little more malleable in terms of your learning. And I think that getting these kids at this raw age of 10, 11, 12 years old is perfect.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we had Swaggy P on the show, and what do you think as the teacher now? What do you think the place is for just skill practice? And I mean, his skills are off the charts, but what's the balance between skill and old school hockey development?
Yeah, so that's definitely a conversation we get brought up a lot, and I think what separates us at Top Line, honestly, is all of our drills. The kids are skating, they're catching passes. The next guideline's making a pass, like. Yes, it's awesome to be able to flip it over the slip through and pull it through your legs. Like that's great. And there's times to utilize that, don't get me wrong. But I think what separates us is if you saw a drill of ours, it's quick little stick handles through a couple pucks. Then you're doing a tight turn around it. You're leaving it with the next guy. You're doing a punch turn, which I couldn't even do in the NHL. Punch turn, swinging around, getting a pass on your backhand, faking the shot, and not faking as in just getting it on your forehand. We're teaching these kids. Throw your shoulder out. If you're lefty and you're coming down the wing, drop your right shoulder like you're actually going to shoot. Throw your hands forward, then do a punch turn back towards the wall. Like little details, I think, are what separates us from a lot of these other businesses. And then, like you said, like I think bridging that gap between, okay, is my kid just standing there stick handling, or is he learning how to utilize these skills, how, when, and where to use them in these games? Because you can make all the Instagram videos in the world of these kids flipping pucks, but how's that going to help them in a game? Where are they going to utilize that? Where is this going to come into play and be an advantage for these kids?
I coached a few years ago with John Tonelli, won 4 Stanley Cups with the Islanders. And it was a really high Express, I think they were called. They were ranked like number 5 in the country, these kids. But he would drive him nuts because every time they would receive a pass, they'd have to dust it off. Like and he's like, don't do that. Just pass it or get going or something, right?
No, it's so funny you said that because like now as a coach, I can be a little kid. I was like, it's not a big deal. It's just a stick handle. They're like, why is he on me so much about this? And like now I see it and I'm like, my blood boils. And
right?
you see what the coaches saw. But it also gives you another appreciation for a lot of your coaches as kids because you really start to understand why they were on you, why they would bark at you, and you learn which coaches really cared and which coaches were just kind of out there collecting a paycheck. And like that starts to resonate and I've learned so much. And I was so fortunate from Steve Sabelli in Syracuse to Matt Herr at boarding school at Kent to Red Berenson to, my pro coaches, Knobloch, who I had in Hartford, who's now in Edmonton with McDavid again. Like, I was so lucky to have the coaches I had, and all of those guys really cared, and they really cared about your development.
And it does say a lot about you too, though. You can have great coaches, but if you don't want to learn, like if you aren't listening to them, then it really doesn't matter how great they are as players. So it says a lot about you as well. How about the hockey sense and the mental part of the game? Where are you at?
I think it's. I was actually with Mully the other day. We were doing the Quebec tryouts, and actually, one of the kids actually asked a really good question. He goes, "How do you stay in the right mindset for a full game?" And me and Mully kind of looked at each other and kind of chuckled. I'm like, "That's a really good question."
Yeah.
I think my response was hockey has to be an intrinsic motivating sport, right? Because I think to play professional hockey, as you have to love this game. Like, it's not, I like it. It's an after school activity. I'm good at it. No. You have to love this game to the point where you have, bruises all over your body from block shots. You're there at the rink 3 hours before your game, and you're there for another 2 hours after getting your rehab and your recovery in. Everybody only sees you at MSG for those 2.5 hours, and it's great. They drink, they throw the t-shirts. It's a whole thing. It's the best thing ever for them. But everything outside of that is where the hockey players are made. And I think that it comes down to loving the game. And I know it sounds kind of like a cliche, but I'm sure, Tom, you would agree with most of this. You have to love the game so much that you find yourself in this mindset 24/7. You get locked in, and until you finish playing, like, it's almost like I woke up after I announced my retirement. I woke up the next day just being like, whoa, like I just kind of like snapped back into being like a non-hockey player. And I was like, you're almost like in like this different state of mind. Like, everything is so accentuated. And I think that you don't appreciate it until you're out of it. So I think that it's an intrinsic motivating sport. And I think that it just comes down to loving it. And you have to be able to give everything you absolutely have and sacrifice your whole life for this.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point, sacrificing your whole life. I've talked to a lot of players on this show. We've done over 100 shows now and off the show, and they've all said pretty much the same thing, that we're selfish jerks in a lot of cases. And we had to be selfish jerks, and we didn't realize that. And then you get done, you start to analyze yourself. Geez, I have to be like that. Well, I had to be like that. You had to be so possessed with playing. And it's just that I think most guys that play at that level, they have to be that much. So, so again, the name of your company, Top Line.
Yep.
And how can people find you? Have you got a website?
Yeah, so we've got a website, toplinehockey.com. We've got an Instagram. It's just at toplinehockey. We've got a TikTok just to reach all those kids, because you know how they got. But yeah, we're in most of the rinks in the tri-state area. I'm in our Long Island City gym right now. It's City Ice Pavilion. And then we run out of the Graveyard, which is a private rink around the corner in the city. I'll touch back on that after. But then we're up in Newburgh as well. Like I said, we've got a gym up there at Icetime Sportsplex. And then we opened our third facility, which is only Gleis and gym, over in Wyckoff. We skate out of American Dream, Sportorama, Clary Anderson, pretty much most rinks in the tri-state area. But I think one thing that's been really cool about being in New York City doing this is I just had 3 kids in here all playing college hockey, and none of them had any idea who the other players were. They all grew up in the same city playing for the Colonials, Avalanche, Aviator, all these teams outside of New York City. And the 3 of them didn't even know each other until they started coming to Top Line. And yeah, it's been awesome. I think now there's a tier 1 program in New York City. So now kids don't have to leave New York to play high level hockey. We run all of their on ice, all of their off ice skills, which has been a blast for me. I mean, I grew up in Syracuse, but I mean, obviously I fell in love with New York growing up, coming here, and then being fortunate enough to spend some time with the Rangers. So I love this city, and I really want to give kids an opportunity not to just play hockey, but play hockey at a high level. And I think that, as you guys know, there's a big difference between being an after-school athlete and wanting to be a hockey player. And I think that we're trying to change the culture in New York City, and it's been going awesome.
Yeah, I try to see it at kids too. It doesn't matter where you are. I really think your goal should be to play in the National Hockey League, but understanding full well that the chances of getting there are very slim. But it's that pursuit of that goal that really helps you, right? I'm sure you're the same way. So in other parts of your life, if you've had that discipline, you work for a goal and you're pushing yourself in hockey, well, then you do the same thing in your career. And I think you learn that from the game of hockey too. So.
Yeah, they do a great practice too, Tom. They do the Saints on Monday nights, and I'm excited. My son gets to skate with you guys tonight. This year on Monday, so I'm looking forward to it. I think Justin runs those, right?
Yeah. Justin runs those up there. Justin's in Edgewater. Him and RJ usually go up there for all those Saints stuff. Saints were actually one of the first organizations we started working with too.
There you go.
The only problem with Tom when he skates, so he does that, he wraps the laces around his ankles like about 20 times.
No, I skate like a baby giraffe, but my son's so.
We were on the ice with, who were on Randy Valachek. And I didn't know Randy that well. Tom comes out on the ice, he's got his laces all wrapped around. We gave it to him back.
I skate like a roller hockey player, man. That's how I skate on ice. So, and these, I don't know if you haven't played roller, but I know Justin played in our league in the city, and Connor has as well. Those guys they're studs.
I get asked to play roller a lot. It's funny. I feel like I understand ice hockey at a level that most people will never understand. Roller hockey, I can't get into it. I hate there's no play to be made. I'm just going to do a big circle, and like everybody does a big circle, and then you come back up and it's like, oh, I don't like it. And then they do a big, like I lose my mind.
Yeah, it's a possession game. It's different. It's
different. It is. Yeah, no, it is. Like, I mean, I'm like chasing us. I'm like poke checking and like pushing, and like guys are like, come on, man, relax. I'm like, no, like if I'm playing hockey, I play hockey. And I'm sure, Tom, you feel the same way. Like, guys ask me to play men's league all the time, and I'm like, listen, I don't think I'm too good. It's not an egotistical thing. It's if I'm playing like the alumni games, like I like to get into it. Like I want to play. Like I don't want to put my equipment on and kind of chuck some saucer passes on my back foot. Like I want to move. I want to sweat. Like I want to break up plays, and I want someone to break up a couple plays of mine. Like I either have it on or I have it off.
Isn't that funny when you get out of the ice? I was the same way. Guys asked me to play in some men's league when I moved back to the area. I thought, it's fun. We'll have some laugh and joke around and go for a few beers after. Well, inevitably, I was getting in fights on the ice because I just in my mind. I got a fight one night with 3 different guys, these young kids. And I got off the ice and I'm like, what am I doing? We went and played the same team about 2 weeks later. And I said, guys, I apologize. I should not be acting like that. And they go, oh, no, Mr. Laidlaw, it was great. We went home and told all our buddies that you beat us up.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
That was my second retirement right after that. So I'm not doing this anymore. Oh, God. Isn't it amazing how that switch goes on again and you just can't turn it off?
No, it is. Like, even when, like, sometimes we have, like, the college guys and, like, we'll play, like, 3-on-3 at the end. Like, I'm like, I get into it. Like, I can't not. Like, I'm either coaching or I'm playing or I'm home with my dog. Like, those are my three lives. Like, I don't have anything in between.
It's lose for you guys, though, because you can't go too hard. And then if you get beat, then they're going to chirp you. So it's like, what do you get out of it?
Oh, the blood pressure. Probably worse than playing in the NHL because you really can't do as much about it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
You know what? I'm wanting your opinion on this too. So at the end of my career, I hurt my back out in LA. So they sent me to the minors, to Phoenix for a couple of games. And, I was that old defenseman, the standard, come around the back of the neck. And at the NHL level, there's a guy on the boards at the hash marks. So I just fired the puck at the hash marks. I did that a couple of times in the American League. There was nobody there. Bill looking at me, you played in the NHL? It's like, yeah, but it was tougher to play in the minors in some ways because of that.
No, I agree. I think that I tell guys this all the time, and it's funny because guys who I grew up with who are now retired, who never played in the NHL, they always disagree with me. And I say the AHL is actually harder to play in than the NHL because guys are better, they're more skilled, and they're in the right spots, right? So in the AHL, you kind of get a mishmash of guys who are just happy to be there from the coast and guys who are pissed off because they've been sent down, and then the guys who are just career AHL players who just know the game well, and that's just where they plateaued. And it gets jumbled up because you've got, on one line, you'll have a prospect. Like when I was in Hartford, we had Philip Hedl playing center, who was a top prospect. And then on the wing, we had, what's his name? Oh, I'm blanking on him. He won a cup in Boston, big lefty winger. Paille was like on his left. And then you had someone like Tanner Glass on his right. And it's like, 3 totally different worlds, right? Like you got Glass, who's going to go up for the playoffs and, punch someone's teeth out. Yeah, right. Nicest guy in the world, though. Then you've got Philip Hedl, who's this, 19-year-old kid, barely speaks English, who's going to be in the NHL in no time. And then you've got someone, Paille, who's coming out of his career, who's been an awesome NHLer, who's probably going to head to Europe. And you get this mishmash of guys, and it's hard to kind of balance that out. And it's hard to play, right? So it's a lot more scrappier. It's a lot more grittier. But it's good in the sense that you learn the pro style game. And I never understood that when Gorton Drury would send me down there, like, learn the pro game. And I get so frustrated because I'm like, I'm better than the guys you have in the line up here now. And they're like, just go play. And I could appreciate that after a couple of years. I actually had a good talk with Drew at the end, right before I left New York. And I was like, I actually appreciate you guys having me play in Hartford and learn the pro style game.
Yeah. So that's interesting to say that too, right? Because you think you're a good enough player, but it's understanding the game, that everything that goes in it, on the ice, off the ice, the locker room, your interaction with fans. There's so many things that you have to learn for the National Hockey League level. How old are you now?
I'm 30.
Old man, getting old.
And my back feels like I'm 60, so I don't know.
But your conditioning obviously is pretty good right now, right?
Yeah, no, I'm a gym rat now. I mean, we run on ice and we run off ice. So, I mean, it's getting to a point where I'm struggling to find time to work out myself, but it's a good problem to have. It means you're busy.
No, he's in great shape. He's in great shape. I saw that the playoff game recently. He's in really good shape.
No, and I love to surf now. So it's kind of been my like competitiveness.
I forgot about that. You told me about that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I love surfing. So that's kind of like, it's funny because I was with a couple buddies a little while ago, and they're all Division I athletes and stuff. And they're like, you know what? Like every time we go to the gym, like we're always training for something. Like you can't just go to the gym. Like you got to be training for something. And I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And like, I realized like everything I do in the gym is to become a better surfer. Like I have like my little paddlers, like I do a lot of like core stability. My hips are better than they've ever been, for my stance. So it's cool. It's like, I'm like learning a new sport, and it's been cool. It's been keeping me in the gym and keeping me engaged.
How'd you get into that?
I kind of did it. Like here and there while I was still playing. Like I had a bunch of friends who lived down in LA. I'd go out there for, a couple of weeks, rent a board and surf. And I really loved it. But as you know, playing hockey, like you can't, right? Like you're busy, 7 months of the year. And then those 4 months you're off, you're making sure your body doesn't fall apart. And then in the summer, you're putting it back together just to do it all over again. So it was hard. I didn't have time, and I really wanted to focus on hockey, to be honest with you. But I'd say right after I retired, my family lives in Florida. So I was down there in Fort Lauderdale. So I would drive up to Lake Worth when there were waves, and I'd go up there. I'd go down to Puerto Rico when I could. And then it kind of grew to the point where I've been to Sri Lanka. I did a couple weeks there. I was actually just in Puerto Rico with the NHL, snuck a couple sessions in there.
Oh, nice.
I was just in Portugal a couple months ago. So yeah, it's been cool for me. I've learned that it's kind of like this all encompassing. It's traveling, surfing, and you learn a lot about the culture, because there's a lot of these small beach towns, and all the locals are so friendly, and you learn so much, and you get all this local knowledge, and it's been a really cool experience.
So you're married, are you?
No, I'm not. My girlfriend, who I live with in Greenwich Village, she's a doctor. So yeah, but it's funny. People are like, "Wow, that's kind of a lonely life." I'm like, "No, it's great. I mean, we don't see each other, so you can't fight at home if you have nothing to fight about."
Yeah, successful marriage right there. Yeah, if you get married.
Oh, it's great. We're thinking long term.
Okay. Well, isn't Chuba's wife is a doctor as well, right?
Yeah, she is, Kelly, and they met at Michigan. It's actually a funny story. She was actually a senior at like the best sorority, and we were all just little freshmen hockey players thinking we were studs.
Yeah.
And I think it was Halloween. He wore a Superman outfit, and she wore like a suit, like a Wonder Woman. And that's kind of like how they met. And I remember that night, and then they started hanging out, and then the rest was just kind of history.
He's got the Mark Messier thing going on. When he speaks, he gets some teary eyes going. He's crying all the time too, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he is. He's an emotional guy. I mean, honestly, truly, like he's awesome. Like, and as you know, like guys who are vicious on the ice tend to be like the biggest teddy bears off the ice. Like he really is a really grounded. He's a really humble. He's a really good guy. Actually ran into him on the street. His friend lives around the corner from me. He's awesome. He's emotional and he cares. Like at the end of the day, like he cares. Like he wants to win, and he does what his team needs him to do. Like I grew up playing against him my whole life. He played at CompuWare and I was at Syracuse, and we were always bad. He would kick the crap out of me. Like he would kill me. And like then, he went to NCDP, and then I played in the USHL a little bit, played against him there. And then we were at Michigan together. And like, even before this guy was making money, he was the same teammate. He did whatever it took to win. And it's kind of frustrating to see these fans get on him, but I get it. It's part of the game, but I think he's handling it well. And he's honestly a really good guy.
Yeah, if anything, I think you nailed it in the head there. He's got to settle down a little bit. Sometimes he's trying to do too much. Like that one play, it was the first goal against Florida, the game 6, where he stepped up there, and he knows he shouldn't be doing that. But I think he's trying to make a play because he wants to get these going. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think he's trying to be Superman. He's just trying to make a play for his team. And like we said, he's human, and it's gonna happen.
Well, Boo, I got to tell you, I told you at the start of the show, you really impressed me when I first met you. That wow, this guy's got a personality. He's unbelievable. So keep that going. You're a really good person. I'm very happy for you, what you're doing in your career. A lot of good stuff. You guys, so the plan is to keep building this business then too?
Yeah. No, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to the Alumni Association. You guys have been awesome. You guys have welcomed me in right away. And usually being a younger guy, they're kind of like, just brush this guy off to the side. But every time I sat next to you, Mateau, Graves, you guys are all awesome. You guys make those days, honestly, so much fun. It's funny. I was so nervous my first game. I remember it at UBS a while ago. I think it was 2 years ago now. I was so nervous. It's the first thing I ever did with you guys. And I was like, put my bag down, and immediately everyone's just like, "Oh, what's up, Boo? Like, nice to meet you, man. Like, heard you doing your business." And I'm like, "This is great." So thank you guys. But yeah,
Steph Mentel's a pretty funny guy too.
It's hilarious.
We had a little trip to Vegas at the start of the year, and we were at the rink. We were going up the elevator to go to the suite, and there's Adam Graves, Mike Richter, and all these guys, and there's 2 Ranger fans. You can tell get on there looking around and realizing who they're with in the elevator, and you could tell they're nervous. And the door didn't close right away in the elevator, so Steph's standing beside the couple. He says, "Well, you guys are going to have to get off." And he said it really seriously too. So they're panicking. They thought they'd really upset us or something like that. So they go to get off the elevator. He grabs me. Get back in here. It was classic the way he did it too.
It was really funny.
It had to put you at ease, but when Laidlaw went out there and he was a -6, you're like, okay, I can handle it. Like,
well, you know what? It's funny because you know what? These guys get a lot of crap because they're a little older now. But you know what? Like, so like they can still play. Like they still see the game well. Like I played with Kovalev was there my first game, and I literally was like, "Holy smokes, this guy could still play."
Different animal, that guy.
Yeah. And then Duguay's out there with his hair flapping. I'm like, Ron, like you got to slow down, man. This isn't the game that you used to play in.
He gets really competitive out there. So what I would do, we played some games where we played against some organizations. So they'd have like 3 of us alumni guys on one team, 3 on the other. So if they'd always put Duguay and I in the opposite teams because we were in better shape than most of the guys. So I would tell my team, I says, whatever we do tonight, do not let Duguay score. Okay, whatever. So, and he was going nuts, taking slap shots at the end, trying to score goals, and guys would die laughing. So, all right, thank you very much. So again, one more time with the name of your company.
Top Line Hockey.
And everybody can find you on. You got a website, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So
website, Instagram, TikTok. Yep.
Yeah, they're IG guys, Tom, for the younger crowd.
Yeah, IG for all the younger ones. Yeah, we're starting a YouTube channel too for even the younger kids. So we're hitting all the age groups.
Very cool, very cool. Well, again, thank you very much for coming on the show. We'll have you on again.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Thanks, Boo.
Yes.
Hey, that was great, Tom. We got Boo Nieves, first Puerto Rican NHL player of Puerto Rican descent in the NHL, which is awesome. He was mentioning that they just played. There was a little tournament. A friend of mine, Jeremy Silverman, just played for Puerto Rico. His mom was Puerto Rican. Yeah, so really excited. They're trying to build up the program there, and that's kind of awesome, man.
I go down to Puerto Rico. They say the women are beautiful down there.
I think they say that correctly.
Is that a reason to go?
Is that why you go? He said culture, and you automatically think women. You know, he likes to travel and surf for the culture, and you're like, women.
Isn't he an interesting dude, though? Like the surfing part, the business he started, they're very successful. His personality, he's cool. I forgot about all the concussions he had, too.
Because he had some promise, man. They were like, okay, he's going to be a good, two-way center, and he's going to play, and he can skate, and he got the concussion. That's a horrible thing because it steals your career, But he's
he talked about it in the show too, where he says, I had to make a decision. I could have kept going and getting a concussion every 6 months or whatever, but sooner or later,
cashing the chips.
Yeah, if you think about, look at Heedle going through it right now. What's going to happen with him? Yeah. And unfortunately, he's such a highly rated player. I think part of the battle is going to be everybody, including himself, probably thought like in Heedle's case and Boo's case that they're going to be good hockey players. Now you have to make that choice. And again, the hard part, you're not walking around with a cast on your leg or something like that. It's like nobody sees it.
But you got to say, like you said, this is my life. I think back to like Michael Sauer, who had that vicious hit from Phaneuf, and that ended his career on the spot. And he was a highly touted defenseman too, like kind of your style,
I heard some of the stories with those guys that go through that. They have to sit in a dark room. They can't drive a car, all this kind of stuff.
Well, you were like,
I had a concussion. I was just, and I wonder why that's interesting. Why some guys have that lingering effect with concussions and other guys don't.
Randy Velichek had it a few years ago. He said he spent the summer in a dark room because he said everything hurt, which is terrible. And that's many years later,
Oh, I didn't know that with Randy.
Yeah, Randy, he struggled. He's 2 years ago, he really struggled.
Did something happen with him 2 years ago?
Gosh, maybe he got another one. I'll ask him. But yeah, he had some severe effects from it. And it was really difficult. So it's tough, man. It robs you of that. But he's doing great now. He's big on Instagram. Him and his partner Justin Selman, who I know, they're like he's the king of Instagram. They travel, they see the world, they do all these cool things, and it's like, you know what? They're winning. This is the full change. And Boo's changed into this, and he's doing great. I met him at the game, at the playoff game, and he was awesome. He was just like, yeah, I'd love to come on. He's like, Tom's great. I'm like, you sure you're talking about the right guy?
I was in a good mood that day.
Yeah. But he was looking forward to it, and he did. He gave us a great interview.
Yeah, I like his personality too. It's more like, okay, the game's over with. I can't sit and complain about it. Like some guys do carry that kind of, you get bitter, especially years later. The game didn't. They'll treat it like, okay, the game didn't treat me properly or something.
Right.
So,
he doesn't hate hockey. He didn't hate hockey, and he's still in it. He said he's in it every day. But you did notice he lit up when he talked about surfing, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And the traveling around, he did it, the surfing. Yeah, very cool.
It's awesome, man. So I'm glad he came on. That was a great interview.
Yeah, he's good personality. Having him on again too. He's good.
Absolutely. And if you like what you're hearing, leave us a review. Deb from Nebraska just left a wonderful review. If anybody goes on Apple and sees our reviews, that's one. Leave one like that. That's
our girl Deb from Nebraska. That's right too. Deb Anderson.
So thanks, Deb. And
you give her a hard time, Deb, when we first got on the show. Her middle name or her maiden name is
Gershon, something.
There's a lot of different versions when we were trying to say it.
But those are great reviews, and anyone likes this, please spread it around, and we'll keep putting out these amazing shows. So thanks for listening.
All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.